Hello and welcome to the Animation Essay Podcast. I'm Julia Smuts Louw, and this month I'm delighted to be talking to Kabelo Maaka, founder of Johannesburg's Cabblow Studios, together with her mother, Tshepo Maaka, or as she's adorably called throughout this interview, Dr. T. Kabelo told us about her journey from the world-famous Gobelins Summer School in Paris to getting her first short film into Annecy to launching a multi-platform IP. We talked about picking the right partners, using every opportunity to brand build, and of course, how to survive the upcoming robot apocalypse. Please enjoy. Even right now with this background, you are speaking to one of the kind of points you made at the Comic-Con talk that we saw the other weekend, which is to use every available opportunity to get your brand out there, which in this case is RORISAng and the GURLZ, which has been your baby for some years now.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about, well, of course I want to ask about RORISAng, but maybe you can tell us about your whole journey, just starting from the beginning. To introduce you officially, I'm chatting to Kabelo Maaka, who's the founder of Cabblow Studios. And I don't really remember when I met you originally. It might have been at a CTIF, but you've always been a dynamo in the scene. So anyway, yes, right at the beginning, what made you study animation? You studied at AFTA, right, to begin with?
Yes, I did. Also, I love your little calcifer button.
Oh, thanks.
I love that so much. I've been drawing my whole life like most artists. My mom says I used to draw in her medical textbooks when I was younger. So,
that's funny.
I guess I just caught that bug early. And then what we used to do was we used to hire DVDs, because my mom was like so busy and hectic working in the hospital and everything, because my mom's a doctor. So, which but for context for the people listening. So
She always keeps it at the beginning of her name when you introduce her, though. It's always like
yes,
Dr.
it's Dr.
Tshepo, just in
T.
case you didn't know, Dr. Tshepo.
It's like her brand, you know?
Yeah. You gotta take the respect where it's been earned.
Yeah, which I appreciate. I always joke and say, I'm gonna get an honorary doctorate. I just need to be super duper accomplished, and then one of these universities will give me an honorary doctorate. Because I don't.
Good morning, doctor.
Yeah, yes, so I'll be a doctor of animation. Wild. Back to the story, I digress. We used to hire DVDs because she had such a hectic work schedule. We never actually went to the cinema a lot. So when movies would come out, there used to be a video spot where I live growing up. And Fridays would be like the day where we go get McDonald's and then we hire a DVD and then we watch movies. And I would get something from the kids section and she would get one that's family appropriate. And then we'd watch both. And then I would spend all of the Saturday morning watching behind the scenes and watching just movies in general because I liked seeing how movies were made. Um, and I would see them now. I know they're called storyboards. Now I know they're called character sheets and all these things. But at the time, I didn't know they would show you behind the scenes of Mulan and the scenes that were cut out. And you're like, why doesn't it move? Why is it stiff? Why is it a black and white drawing? Now I know that's an animatic. And
it's cheaper.
yeah, it's much easier to do. And there's the behind the scenes from Finding Nemo where they show how they simulated water and that the water CGI was so good they actually had to pull back because they couldn't distinguish between real fish and the animated fish because it was of the lighting effects and everything. I think that was when I realized, oh, I want to do animation. That's actually what I want to do. I was about 11. And then my mom took me seriously. She said, okay, you want to do this? You want to be a cartoonist? I think that's what we said for a while. You want to be a cartoonist. And so I was always drawing and I used to draw anime at some point. One of my friends lent me her How to Draw Manga book in grade 8. And some of those sketches are the reason why RORISAng looks the way she looks now. And I had this drawing for dummies book when I was in grade 10. And my classmates were like, why do you need a drawing for dummies book? You can draw. I was like, no, the fundamentals, the fundamentals. So I did art
I
in
remember those
school.
books.
Yes, yes, and people are like, "Why? You can draw." And I was like, "You don't understand. We have to learn algebra, so surely there's a way to learn how to draw."
Hmm.
And along the way, my mum paid for some school trips where we went overseas. In grade eight, me and my mom went to America for the first time. I went to Disney World for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And then when I was in grade, no, when I was in matric, for her 40th birthday, we went to Los Angeles. And we did a whole bunch of stuff, including visiting Cal Arts
Mm.
and going to Universal Studios, and then also just these like Hollywood, those like funny Hollywood celebrity tours that you do. And we saw Adam
Mm.
Sandler, and I was actually starstruck for Adam Sandler. But those
He's
trips
cool.
were, yeah, he's famous. You don't, because they're so far away. But those trips was how I realized, okay, this is the industry, this is animation, this is where I could possibly go to school. And then maybe the last major thing is I'm like jumping back and forth, but in grade 10, I did a bit of job shadowing at Bug Box
Mm.
when they were still here in Pretoria, somewhere there.
It
Uh,
was they were kind of in four ways.
yes, 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 yes. I remember
Yeah.
driving on like a plot, basically, where they were. And that's where I
So you
met
interned
Daniel.
there.
Sorry? Yes, I did job shadowing, yes. I remember I was so shy. Um, and I met Daniel Snadden, and he told me about the 12
All
principles of
roads lead to
animation.
Dan.
Yep, yeah, all of them. Um, he told me about the 12 principles of animation, and he told me about the illusion of life, and I watched him make Cocoa Pops ads at Bug Box, and I met, why is her name escaping me all of a sudden?
Candace.
Candace, thank you. I met Candace and Tim much later when I was now properly a professional, and that's when I got to tell them that my first like time seeing South Africans working in animation was Bug Box, and they've in their own way had a type of like a mentoring relationship with me, which is cool. So I went to ABDA in Cape Town, and I don't think they have an animation program anymore because we were like three students in the third year.
Okay.
And then I went to the Joburg campus to do my honors. And during that time is when I got to go to the summer school at Gobelins.
Yeah.
Yes, my mom is actually the one who found that program. I didn't know they had English programs. So she was like, "Hey, you need some overseas something. Let's try and find something." And then the after allowed me to go to Gobelins because it was during school holiday. No, it wasn't. We were in the middle of our final production. Oh my gosh. And then I was an intern with the NVF at the same time. So that was like the most stressful time in my life, but
Mm. Wow.
it just showed me that you're very capable as a human being to do a
Right.
lot of things. So that's how it came. And I haven't really worked for other studios. I finished university and I couldn't find a job. So I just started my own company.
Amazing.
And that was
Can you
9 years
just
ago.
before you move on to that, can you talk a little
Yeah.
bit more about the Gobelins Summer Program? Because the few people I know who've been through it, it seems to have had a really profound effect on them in terms of how they see themselves as like what the role of an artist is. I think it just kind of sets a bar. That's the impression that I get.
Mm.
Tshepo did it, and yeah, Dan also did while he was at Bug Box, and James Mann, a couple of other people that are in the industry here. I mean, firstly, would you recommend people sink that cost if they can to go to Gobelin or try and get support? And what are the things that remain with you from that time?
It was a very, very, it sounds so dramatic, but it was life-changing. Um,
Mm,
for the longest time, I was not very confident in my animation skills. I just felt like I just was lacking. Um, I just didn't feel like I was ready to be in the industry.
mm,
But that's probably a combination of maybe where I went to school, but also my own insecurities as a person. And so when I went to the summer school program, I met like people who worked on existing films and TV shows, which makes a
Mm.
difference in how you receive the information from a lecturer. Which is silly because all your lecturers know what they're talking about, but the ones when, like, my one lecturer worked on Avatar with the blue people, and the other one was on, is it 1994, 1995 Tarzan, the 2D
Oh wow, yeah.
animation.
Yeah.
And I remember they said that yeah, he would say which shots specifically he worked on. And he was like, yeah, Glenn Keane told me this and that. And you're like, oh, just casually name dropping. Okay. Um, but there's weight when they tell you to do something. There's weight because of the evidence of work that they've done.
Mm.
And so when I was there, the impact of being around those lectures made me feel like, okay, maybe I'm also good enough. I think also just I animated better when I was there from the feedback that they gave and the process that I followed. And that was also the first time I used TV Paint.
Mm.
I was using Flash for most of my assignments, not even Toon Boom. And the one lecturer, I think his name is Yuli. He says to me, "Oh, what software are you using for your assignment?" I said, I'm gonna use Flash, but I prefer the brushes in Photoshop." So he says, "Oh, if you like the brushes in Photoshop, let me show you TV Paint." I had always been intimidated by TV Paint. So he opens it up. He says, "Here's the brush. Here's how you make a new frame. Here's how you delete. Go forth." Literally 3 seconds. That was the tutorial. And I have been using TV Paint for all of my projects professionally ever since.
Evidence.
And so that's been one of the biggest impacts. And then the last one was when you're in that space, especially as South Africans, we like to make fun of Americans and say they don't travel, but we also don't really travel as South Africans. So when you're there, you're like the only African person in the room. Maybe you and the guy from Egypt. You're the only African people in the room. And so they are experiencing your continent for the first time. When they introduce themselves and say where they're from, they don't say Johannesburg. They say, "Oh, I'm from Hawaii. I'm from all these places." They don't say their country. You show up and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm from South Africa." And then like you're a novelty, you're this interesting thing, but also they get to see that we're not so backwards as a continent. Which is, oh, we do have winter. Yes, our plugs are a little bit different. And I know
Our
exactly who
plugs
the
are
author is.
daft.
Yeah, yeah. So that was like I realized, oh, I'm an African person. Right.
And you're representing because they don't know anyone not from the country but from the whole continent. That means
Mm,
by default you're representing the whole continent. So it's
exactly.
a lot of pressure.
It is, and you barely know people from other countries yourself.
Yeah.
But when I
I
came
try
back, I
to.
felt like a real animator. So I do, if you can, it's expensive, but I do recommend if you can go, go. And then don't just go and then be like, ooh la la la, Paris, la la la, the Louvre, la la la. Like go and learn and soak up and grab contacts. Because you never know where everybody's gonna land up a few years from now. Like one of my
And
classmates.
do you stay in touch? Yeah, sorry, you were going to
Yeah,
say.
some of them we do. It's a bit quiet now, but some of them we do. One of my classmates, Vivzy Pop is her name on YouTube. She's a creator of Has Been Hotel, which is
Oh,
on
right.
Primal. Yeah. So you just never know where people are gonna land up.
Amazing.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so then you started your own studio, and was your mom your business partner from the beginning?
Yes, she was supposed to be like Kris Jenner and just be a momager, Kris Jenner, the Kardashian mom. And after an unsavory first meeting with a little bit of a shady director, she said, "Oh no, 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 no! I'm gonna do this business with you."
Wow.
And so I registered her. We owned the business 50-50. As the years go and as investors come, we will negotiate what that ownership looks like. But for now, we own it.
And did she take a step back from medicine in order to do that, or did she still go on working?
No, she did, and interestingly enough,
That's quite a
the
pivot.
step, yeah, the step back kind of happened to her. She didn't want to step back, but it kind of happened to her. And in a strange way, she says it's like God was protecting her from all the things that are changing in the medical industry.
Mm.
That's its own story. So she must have her own episode. But yeah, she doesn't actually practice in the hospital anymore because my mom's an anesthetist, so she puts people to
Right.
sleep. Yeah, so um, I just think she really enjoys business. She enjoys combining medicine with innovations within certain business sectors because she used to have a medical tourism business when I was younger, where she would bring in patients from all around the continent to receive healthcare in South Africa because our systems were stronger.
Mm.
Um, and she did that for like 5, 10 years, something like that. It was a long time.
Wow, what a
Um,
baller. That's so cool.
yeah, so now she does medical animation. Now she's doing like
Mm.
medical technology. She was literally the one who was like, "Hey, have you heard of this Chat GPT thing?" And I said, "Oh, not really, but yeah." So she's like with it. She was like,
That's
"Hey,
very
you
nice.
need to put RORISAng on TikTok." And I was like, "I don't want to learn another social media, but okay." So
Oh,
she's very,
hilarious.
so she's business development at Cabblow Studios. Um, and I think maybe some people might have this misconception that she's like bankrolling the studio. No, I've not had a single investor at Cabblow Studios in the 9 years. The only we've ever had any kind of input was when I took out a personal loan in 2022 because cash flow was tight. And then recently, Dr. T has then put in some funds into the studio. But otherwise, we run with the clients, and then that's how we make the stuff and make things happen. Mm,
Amazing.
mm.
And so your first kind of entry into the market was, or your first kind of calling card as a studio was 3 teaspoons of sugar. Is that right?
Yes, that was our
That
first
short film, which got
entry.
into Annecy,
Yes, it did. Um,
the
it
online
did. I
edition
forgot about
in
that. Yeah, I forgot about
COVID
that.
times.
Yeah, I remember when we got the news that we got into Annecy, we had been rejected from so many other festivals, and there was load shedding here. And it was when load shedding was still really, really bad. So my mom and I went to Starbucks in Sandton, I think, Sandton City. And we were like, we're just gonna mooch off of the Wi-Fi at Starbucks and just do the work that we need to do. And I open up my Gmail and I just see Annecy, and then I just see congratulations. I nearly screamed. And then
Amazing.
and then lockdown, we couldn't go in person, but to have that accolade made a difference because then it just set us up um on a world stage. It validated what we were doing with medical animation. And then all the people that I had been pitching to with Dr. T the year before to say, let us create animations for your health education so we can make your content simple and easy to remember. All those people, we were speaking to medical aides, we were speaking to hospitals, we were speaking to not yet to pharmaceuticals, but we were speaking to all these different companies, and they just weren't really understanding what we were trying to do. And then when
Mm.
we got into Annecy, and then we could point them to this film that we made, all of a sudden a bunch of clients started coming in.
Mm.
So that's why I do advocate, if you can, again, make a small version of your project and get it out, because it's the best way to try and explain whatever it is that what you are doing.
Yeah. How long did it take you to make that short, and how many people worked on it?
I think we were four
14
people in,
minutes, right?
yes, it's probably
Okay.
15. I must check, yeah.
Mm.
I think we were four people in total.
Oh,
And I
that's not
was,
many at all.
no, not at all. And it took 10 months in between my full-time job. So I used to teach full-time at City Varsity in Braamfontein. I was
Mm.
teaching their 2D animation course, their diploma students. And then when we won. a competition. We won an incubator competition called the Gauteng Accelerator Program.
Mm. At
And at
GFC.
no, that was its own thing. The
Oh, it
Gauteng
was.
Accelerator Program was its own thing. It was a business competition that Dr. Chi kind of just stumbled upon, and we had entered in their medical track, like they had different tracks, and we were pitching them to say, "Hey, medical animation, use animation to simplify complex medical topics," and then we won first place for that competition. We won that in November when the movie was
Hey.
done. But before that, we had won some funding from GFC. Um, I think it was 150,000 Rand that we got, somewhere there. And so then I had to stop teaching full time. And that was kind of like a year and a half, a year and a bit into teaching. And then I had to spend the rest of that year finishing the movie 2019.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
stopped your day job to make the movie happen. That's
Yeah,
quite a that's quite an important like reality check for I think for people trying to do this in and around other things because
mm,
I guess that's the only way you could do a 15-minute 2D animated film in 10 months is if that's what you were doing.
yeah. I know there's people who can do it while they work full time, but at that time I just didn't know how. And we wanted to enter it into competitions. We wanted to have our own premiere in November on the 14th of November, which is World Diabetes Day. And
Mm,
so it just, because Three Teaspoons is about diabetes in
yeah.
type 2 diabetes in adults. And so we just, I didn't know how else to do it. So I had to leave my job. My students were sad. Um, and that's why I ended up starting the Business of Animation podcast. I was like, I'm still teaching, just in a different way. Um, yeah.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about your podcast, which is it's not that new anymore, but it's sort of a
Mm-mm.
newer thing for you, right? Um,
Um, yeah, I started it in 2020 because my students would ask me questions like, Miss K, how do I invoice? Miss K, somebody asked me to put together a team for a project. I don't know how to hire people. And I said, oh, okay, I can teach some things. And all these incubators we were doing and all these different business concepts that they were teaching, I realized, oh, we don't really know how movies are sold and how movies are made. We know technically how they're made, but we don't know how we go from concept to distribution and marketing and all of that. So that's when I started the podcast. Right now it's dormant. The most that I do with the podcast is post Instagram shorts where I talk about whatever topic that's on my mind. Um, or I will do guest lecturing at different schools and I'll talk to them about the animation ecosystem and I will ask them what is it that they know and most of the time they have no idea about funding, they have no idea about distribution and marketing and IP law and all these things. But I realized starting a studio, like half the job is learning how to make an animation, the rest of it is learning how to make money from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
to your point about having lecturers at Gobelins that had worked in the industry, I think that's one of the really great things about international schools that consistently have guest lecturers who are working currently is they make sure that those touch points remain current of
Mm,
people coming in and saying this is what's happening now, this is how it works now, and giving the students some exposure to the industry they're in as opposed to just the art form that they're in. So yeah, it's
mm,
awesome that you've done that for the South African context. I teach from time to time at TAS, and
mm.
I'll definitely point them to your content because I think that's yeah, it's a kind of a leg that needs some bolstering in the local student environment. Is how do you take the skill that you have and actually turn it into something that can keep you alive?
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
speaking of the animation school, I've started now as a 2D lecturer for their higher certificate. They're doing an online.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, just this week. This is my
Amazing.
fifth day there.
Well, then I don't
Yeah.
have to point anyone to your podcast because I'm sure
No,
you'll
no,
do
no, no. Sometimes it's better when other people say, so you're not always pushing your own stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, and then moving on to Rory Sang, tell me where did that kind of idea come about and where are you with the with project?
So some version of the idea has probably existed in my mind since high school when I used to do these anime drawings. At my talk at Comic Con, I showed a few of those sketches that I had
Yeah.
from grade 10-ish. I don't know why I didn't write the date in my grade 10 sketchbook specifically. It must have been a phase. Um, so I had some version of that idea, and it was this girl with bright red hair with blue eyes. Why? I don't know. And she was singing, and she had all her little friends. One had like elf ears and long green hair, and oh, all these things. And their skirts were too short. And that idea was just in the back of my head because me and my friends in high school used to be in an R&B band. And we used to do choir and we used to do jazz
Awesome.
band and all these things. Although my choir mistress was lovely. My choir mistress is not like RORISANG's choir mistress. I must make that disclaimer. But I have had some tough teachers that are the inspiration for the villain of the show. Um, so the idea's always been there in the back of my mind as we're doing medical animation, as we're doing Three Teaspoons, as we're doing client projects. It's in the back of my mind, just brewing. And the clients just kind of stopped coming. 2020 live action is struggling, animation is thriving. I'm just having clients
Mm,
because we're fully remote.
yeah.
2021, great PSP funding. I get to do a residency program where I help five animators create their own short films. Awesome, awesome.
And you were Mail and Guardian 200 Young South Africans of the Year that year.
Oh, yes, yeah, that. Yes, that as well. All these lovely, lovely accomplishments. Lovely.
The
And then,
midpoint
like,
high.
yeah, and then like what's that thing called in the movie where everything falls apart? That
The second
nadir
act low.
thing. That's yeah. So the montage is ending, now everything's falling apart. End of 2022. There's like no clients, there's like no jobs, there's no repeat clients. It's bad. Cash flow is bad. I'm not even able to pay salaries for the first time in December. That was the worst experience of
Oh,
my life.
wow.
Um, and we did manage to recover eventually. It was like 2.5 months of like having to pay a portion of salaries, having to get some funds here, and then slowly getting some new clients. But that was like the worst thing ever. And I took out a personal loan at the beginning of 2022. And I said, okay, no one's coming to rescue me. And I had a lot of peace about it. At the end of December, I was very stressed. But in January, I was like, no one's coming to rescue me. I'm taking out a loan and I'll just have to deal with the consequences. And we used those funds to keep afloat for a while. And the NVF had a call and they said, hey, we want to do a slate. Come up with however many projects they asked for. And in those pitch decks that we made, Rory Sang was one of them, and it was the most unpolished of all the projects. Ah, isn't that always the case? And we didn't get chosen for that slate. It's fine. But after we did that, I just started to have this like sense of responsibility for my idea that I'm gonna
Mm.
make this thing. So another opportunity came. It was the Stories by Women program, the first one that allows female filmmakers from everywhere other than Europe and America to, what is it? Emerging markets. There we go. To go to Annecy and get some mentoring and possibly pitch their product.
That's via Women in Animation, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
with FIAPF, because I don't know how to say it in French. And then it was funded by Disney Animation, which was really cool.
amazing.
That was one of the last sort of incubator programs that I was willing to do because I kept saying to Dr. T, we have to emerge at some point. We can't just always be incubated
Incubator.
and we must emerge and the market must tell us if our stuff is good or bad. Um, but the lovely
Yeah.
thing is
Prolonged incubation can be an occupational hazard in this
yeah,
industry,
yeah,
especially if you're,
babies are supposed to be in an
yeah.
incubator only for a little while. And then you must like go out there and get scraped and catch the flu and become strong. Um, so we got that opportunity and I must also like thank our mentor Heather She used to be, I think, in content development or in acquisition, something like that, at Cartoon
Did Heather
Network.
Kenyon,
Yes, yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes. And she
who's now
was,
part of Citizen Skull.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
And she was a really great mentor in helping us to package Rorisang in a sellable way. Before I would just like create a pitch deck and just make it fun and exciting and interesting. Now I had to really think about the person who is purchasing my animation. How am I supposed to talk to them?
Hmm.
And I really felt confident that Rorisang was quite a sellable concept. And so we went to Annecy, and we didn't have any buyers or anything from that, but there were some conversations that we decided not to move on with these partners, but they were interested. And it was really just to retain ownership over our IP and control it. But after Annecy, and after we decided we're not going to go with these partners, is when I said to Dr. T, oh, why don't we just make a webtoon? I mean, Rory-sang is a schoolgirl who loves K-pop, and she's trying to make this band with her friends, an Afro-pop band. And Webtoon is a Korean platform. It's like the YouTube of comics. Why don't we just make Webtoon? I've been reading Webtoons since high school. Why don't we do that? And that's where the journey started. And I think that's been from 2023 because
Wow.
I just checked my TikTok this morning. I've been on TikTok since 2023, and the first one was promoting those Webtoon episodes.
So you
Um,
were a little bit ahead of the K-pop craze in South
a
Africa.
little bit, yeah. Because I was a fan of. That was also the other thing with Rorisang. Because I had this idea of a story about a band with friends. I just didn't know how to bring it together. I had an idea for a girl who loved singing, and I had an idea of a group of friends who were in a band. And then I was like, oh wait, Josie and the Pussycats, Diana Ross and the Supremes,
Yeah, for sure.
Rorisang and the Girls. That kind of like thinking.
Awesome.
And then because I was into K-pop, it was natural to make her a K-pop fan and attach her to the Korean wave.
Mm,
And but not make her try and make K-pop, because immediately people who are into K-pop and all of that can smell when you're trying too hard to be something you're not. So I said
yeah.
she wants to do Afro pop, which is just a blanket term for pop music from our continent, which can sound like anything.
Mm,
And I don't know. I remember seeing the announcement for K-pop Demon Hunters before we knew nothing about K-pop Demon Hunters years ago. I didn't know it was going to be as huge as it is now. I have no idea what that will mean for Rory-san and the girls, but maybe it just means that saying K-pop is not weird anymore, you know.
yeah.
But that's where that
Um,
came from.
yeah, I think the first I heard of it was because one or two of my friends in animation were applying for jobs on that show before,
Oh
I think before
wow.
there were any announcements about it. And I was like, K-pop, how are they going to do an animated feature about K-pop?
Mm.
Just so hard to imagine. And now I'm like, oh, okay, that's how.
That's how. Yeah.
It's a cool
And the
movie.
people loved it. Mm.
It's a really, really great story and had a long, long road of its own. I
Mm.
just wanted to walk back a step to something interesting you said about partners that you had interested
Yes.
in Annecy that you said no to, because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with is if you're working hard on an idea and maybe it's your first idea, the temptation is to leap at anything that seems firm. So, what was it that made you? I don't know if you want to share who it was, or what was it about the fit that didn't feel right to you, and how do you go about making those decisions about saying no or saying
Mm.
yes? Hmm.
That's a very important question because it sounds so Hollywood. I said no to X, Y, and Z big name person. And it's really not like that. These people saw potential in Rorisang and what they could do with it and who they could sell it to. But there were just some small things where I realized, oh, we won't have freedom here. And at first, I was willing to sell. I was like,
Mm.
if I sell Rory-san and the girls, then I can say I made a project with X, Y, and Z broadcaster, and then my next project I'll just own. And I was like kind of despondent about it. And
Mm.
Dr. T, who's normally like the saleswoman, was like, wait a minute, hang on. Like, don't be so quick to sell it yet. And it was small things, you meet and you start to have discussions about what the terms of the agreement will be, and then you explain all that you are doing in the background to bring more attention to Rorisang. Dr. T was still reaching out to people, still trying to pitch, still sending out proposals. And then I think at that time we started exploring making small things like buttons and t-shirts. We started exploring that. Um, and I remember this one person said, "Oh no, just maybe hold off on that for now. Maybe don't do that for now." And I just didn't like that already I can't do anything with my IP even though I'm not locked into
Okay.
any kind of a deal yet. Not
Okay.
even what do they call it again when you
The
when
MOU.
no, well, yeah, not even a MOU, memorandum of understanding, but those deals where it's like they get the first look. Is it just called the first look deal?
You
Not
might be
even
thinking of
those.
the option.
Thank you. Option. There we go. Yeah, not even one of those where I get the option first before you go to other people. We didn't have any deals yet. We were just talking and assessing the partnership. And I didn't like that. And then also we already started getting like editorial story feedback, which
Mm.
now that I've done a project with multi-choice, which we'll talk about, I
Yes.
can see a place for editorial feedback and a place where it's not relevant yet. And I remember it was a small note. It was like, "Hey, are you sure this school should be like a Christian school? Because U.S. audiences are very sensitive about these things," which I understand. But they were like, why can't it just be like a very super rich school? Which for me was revealing a misunderstanding of Rorisang and the
Mm.
girls.
Like a
So,
misalignment.
yeah, so Rorisang is based, the school that Rorisang and the girls go to is called Our Lady of Virtue. It's like over 100 years old with lots and lots of history. And their motto, that's in Latin, that I don't know how to say, means virtue strives for what is difficult in English. I went to St. Mary's in Waverley, which is the oldest
Mm.
school in Gauteng. Lots and lots of history. And the motto for my school in Latin is Candida Retique, and it means in a class of their own. Um, it's an old Anglican school. We had chapel, we had hymn books, we still pray even now. Um, and I just felt that there was a misunderstanding that African schools do look like that sometimes, for various reasons, various histories. But our African schools do look like the school that Rorisang goes to, even maybe more so now with more of the more franchise private schools. Like more people are getting access to that kind of education now. And then
Mm.
two, if I don't have it be a Christian school, I lose all the music that Rory Sang is contending with. No chapel hymns, no Latin choral songs, no vibe killer to clash with because Rory Sang's pop music is not what the vibe killer likes. I lose all my jokes if it's suddenly just like a fancy rich school because then
Mm.
they don't have to sing hymns. Okay, maybe they will have choral songs in Latin, but if it's a fancy rich school, they don't have traditions that are
Mm.
making it so that the choir is singing Latin songs, you know? So it was like, you don't understand what I'm trying to do here. Um, it's not just about these kids who go to a rich school, it's about these kids who are contending with traditions and family expectations and the pressure to succeed. Um, and like high academic performance is the priority of the day, which is not a bad thing, but it doesn't fit with every child. And also like the dynamic of being South African. You can see the group is diverse. That's a dynamic that's unique to South Africa. And how does that play out in the story as well?
Did they want to
Um,
change that? Or was that just one of the
yeah,
things you
just
wanted to?
no, no, no. So like these small notes, why are they in the ninth grade? They should be in the eighth grade. And I'm like, the story is not about the first time you go to high school.
Okay.
This is not a Hi, I'm in high school and I'm figuring it out. No, this is who am I and what do I want to do with my life? And everybody expects me to know, and I'm only 15. So I don't need my characters to be stressing about how high school works. They're in grade
Right.
9 because they know how high school works now. Now they're figuring out, okay, what do I do now that I understand what high school is? What do I do with myself?
Mm.
And so every time we get these small notes, and then you're like, we're going to clash later. Now it's harmless, but later we're going to clash.
Mm. That's
And
interesting.
so Um, I think also what helps is there was no major deal yet on the table, but also what they were offering was that they would own 80 to 95% of our IP, and we would only take away that 5%. And the partners that they were also working with, I just felt that what they were bringing to the table is things that I mean, I can do these applications for myself, for example, when the DTI was still working out. That's something that we could do those
Right.
applications ourselves, as cumbersome as that paperwork was. It was something that we were willing to do. So there wasn't something specifically unique that they were also bringing to the table in that way. But I think that idea of only owning 20 to 5 to 20% of your project, 20% is a whole lot more than other people would say they own of their project, but most likely it would have been on the 5% side of things. And I think for me, when someone says to you they want to own the majority of your idea, you must realize you have something valuable, which
Mm.
means you have the responsibility to mine that idea, which is harder. And it makes sense if somebody is paying for your project to be made, it makes sense that they own majority of it. They're taking the risk. And so if you don't go with whoever it is that is bringing some sort of a deal on the table, it means now, okay, I have to be the one to do the heavy lifting and make this IP into a thing, which means it's a longer journey, perhaps even a harder journey, and you don't know what obstacles you're going to face and what rewards are awaiting you whenever you get there, wherever there is.
Right. Well, that's a
Mm.
great answer.
Sorry, oh, my
Yeah,
phone is ringing. Sorry about that.
don't worry. I couldn't even
Yes.
hear it. So kudos for choosing the harder journey. But I think what you said about like seeing those early signs of misalignment
Mm.
and paying attention to them is like that is a really good note for people who go to markets. And was that an international potential partner or a,
Yes, yes.
yeah,
So for me, the bright side of that is okay. That this idea of you must be specific but universally appealing. Clearly, Rorisang has it. Whatever that thing is,
yeah,
she has
yeah.
it. If she's
The diversity
resonating.
the
Mm,
diversity thing is funny as well. I had a friend who sold a show um to an international network, and they it was based in South Africa, and they gave her the note, can you have an Asian person in the group of friends? And she was like,
mm,
well, no, because it's African. It's like, diversity doesn't have to look like white, black, and Asian.
mm,
there's a lot more going on in Africa than there
mm,
might look.
mm.
Yeah. Um, would you recommend, would you say that going to markets, putting yourself out there, and having the personality to network is an essential part of being like an indie studio? Because some people are introverts and would rather kind of get around that somehow. But how valuable
Mm.
have you found markets do you do a lot of markets? And how valuable is it as
Um,
an investment of also quite a lot of money often?
I don't know if I do a lot, but I have been to some markets. I've been to Annecy, Mifa. Dr. T has been to Stuttgart, which she loved. APD, yeah. And oh, of course, we've got MIPCOM, is it MIPCOM?
The
And what's the
local
one in
one?
Cape Town? Fame Week, where there's
Yeah,
everybody in Cape
yeah.
Town. Um, I think you must do a market to see what it is. Like, it's a very good education. The first time I did a market, I was pitching a project called The Fam, which was a sitcom based on my family. Hopefully one day I can make that thing possible. where I was using the real audio from all these home videos that are filling up my hard drives and my Google Drive of my family, and telling the story of all the shenanigans we get up to at Christmas time and over the holidays and all these things. Because my family, when I say my family, I don't just mean mom, dad, and the pet. I mean my grandmother, my uncle, and my cousin. That's my nucleus.
Right.
Um, so I was at, I don't think it happens anymore, Discop in
Yeah, this
2019.
cop in Joburg.
Yeah, and I got a chance to pitch. And they also had like their training that they did for that. That was the first time I ever engaged with a market where I learned, oh, people go to these things to meet other people who are in film and TV. Some of them buy films and TV shows, some of them are selling films and TV shows, and others are practitioners who offer other services and skills like dubbing and music and I don't know,
Software.
translation and like yeah, just everybody's like a professional somewhere in the film industry. I think that's very useful to know who all is in your industry, to know that there are these people called buyers and that you must be aware of who they are. And just to be okay with the fact that, yeah, you have to network and it's blah, but you have to. And that networking doesn't have to be icky. It really is just like human to human connection and not really expecting anything other than to start to build a rapport with whoever it is you feel like you're connecting with. And that's been useful because then I went to Cape Town Animation Festival when I was in fourth year, I think, or just after. That was the first time I met Vanessa, who used to be at Triggerfish. That was the first time I attended talks, and the first time I saw who all was in the industry, and I was pitching that same concept there, that they're like 30-second speed pitch things that they used to do.
Hmm.
And it was just useful to see who all is in the industry, and what jobs are out there in the industry, and start to see how films and TV shows get to be in the cinema and on the streaming platforms and on regular linear TV. And to know that it's called linear TV, like some of those terms you're never going to hear if you don't go to a market. So I do think even if you don't go to a market every year or to every market, being exposed to at least one market is going to be a very valuable education to understand how the industry works. Now I suppose it is changing because there's something called AI and there's lots of remakes and franchise projects, but I still think there's some value there to being at a market.
Tell me about, yeah, how do you think you mentioned earlier that your mom was the first one who said, "Hey, have you found this thing called ChatGPT?"
Hmm.
As a 2D artist, I can only imagine your skin crawls when you think of using AI in your work. Um, but yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that. How do you guys see it impacting the industry, and how do you plan or plan not to incorporate it?
It's like it's one of those
Take your
things
time.
where your answer is this today and then your answer
Yeah.
is that tomorrow. Um, Overall, I think I'm a watch and see person. I'm a watch and see person. Like in theory, I know if I had an AI and I could like train the model on my own art style and my own processes, maybe I could get my background designer some support so that he doesn't have to do all the backgrounds. He can
Oh,
do,
but you can.
he,
That's very possible.
I know that he doesn't have to do everything. He has some support because the AI is trained on our processes and somehow finding a way to protect your style, which is like how do you protect style as an IP? Like that's in theory that's like the one way I'm thinking. But then on the other hand, I have seen sometimes how soulless AI can be. And so then you're like you feel some type of way about robots making artwork, and then on the other hand, you do see some people where I saw something on LinkedIn 2 weeks ago, and this was like a fight scene with these like Afro futuristic characters. And this person claimed they made it on AI, and for the first time, the AI did not look creepy. Like it didn't look like it was moving badly. It didn't look like there was fundamentally no understanding of the 12 principles of animation.
Mm.
It didn't look
Wow.
bad, and these were black characters. And I thought, oh, all my excuses are gone.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, AI animation, there's a creepiness to it, even when it moves well, that I just can't accept. Um,
Yeah, the uncanny valley effect.
that is exactly it. You know, you're like, this moves like a person, but there's something wrong with this. Also,
Yeah, I
why
think we
is the
can't we can't
afro?
hold we can't we can't hold out hope that that's going to
No.
be an impediment for too much longer. So either something else has to stop it, like legislation, or we have to find
Yeah,
out how to onboard it, or hope that people are just more interested in seeing and watching things that
human
are by
things.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a clean answer. I don't have an answer that's not going to make somebody angry with me either. I
Oh,
just
I
know
wouldn't.
personally how I feel is that the AI images do make me feel uncomfortable. And when somebody reveals that something they've made was produced with I suddenly feel this disconnect. You know,
Mm,
you find a cute little video or a cute little song or an art piece, and you love it, and then all of a sudden it's not made by a person, and all of a sudden it takes this there's a quality that's taken away from that thing, even though visually or the audio is
yeah.
actually decent. So
Yeah,
I
the music side of things
mm,
is jaw-dropping. Like I don't know, there was some stat like the top 10 country albums in the last couple of years were many of them were AI. And
mm,
I think gospel, that really is creepy, but gospel music is the other area where AI is very, very good. I think it's because those music forms they're more formulaic. They're just more
mm,
stayed, so it's easier for machines to reproduce it.
copy.
But
Mm.
it is really scary that we can't tell the difference. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll tell you one thing that was a bit disappointing is I've been pitching to get some new medical animation clients, and then the feedback that we got from the one pitch, wonderful pitch, beautiful pitch, positive, great, wow, what a wonderful thing that you do. Are you not concerned that AI is going to remove you as an intermediary? Those are the
oh,
exact
wow.
words that the person used. Firstly, I never saw myself as a middleman, but clearly I am in their eyes because I'm in the middle of producing their vision for them. So I am an intermediary in that person's eyes. But I was very heartbroken when I got that feedback. So I said, "Oh, okay, so the robots really are going to take my job." Um,
Wow,
it's
yeah, cold.
it was yeah,
Like,
it was
don't beat about the bush. Tell us how you really feel.
yeah, you know, it was so heartbreaking to hear those words, and the answer that I gave him was not satisfactory. You know, I spoke about how the AI was not really that good at depicting South African and African things because there's not enough of a data pool to pull from. But then, like I said, 2 weeks ago, I just saw something that just blew that argument out of the water. So,
And they're paying us to train it. Like in Africa, particularly, they're hiring, I wouldn't say animation particularly, but they're coming here for being able to pay people cents on the dollar to train it.
mm,
So that won't be, I don't think that's going to be a problem for a long time.
at all, yeah. I heard that there's some data workers in Kenya
Yeah.
who do that, to do the AI
Yeah.
training models, and it's also got its own dynamic that's a little bit traumatizing for them as well. But
Mm,
so I don't have an answer. The only thing that I can say is I'm still moving by faith with RORISAng and the girls,
mm.
because at the end of the day, people like to connect with people. And the one thing that differentiates me and a robot for now is that I'm actually still a person. And the AI is a very sophisticated language model, you know? And I don't know if it means that you have to have sophisticated prompting, and so then my argument is then thrown out of the water. But there is something that is hard to quantify that people connect with when something
Yeah.
is made by a person. And I can only say that it is your spirit that people are connecting with, which sounds so hoo ha pie in the sky, but that's just how I can put it, you know. So,
Well, I think one
mm,
way in which you're being smart is that you're yourself as a human and a brand, you're very present in your IP
was
as well,
that
like
too?
with all your social media stuff that you do and all your talks that you do. And I
Mm,
think people do respond to that as well as like the personality of the creator and their mission and their vision, and the kind of, the adventure of being the creator of Rorisang. So
mm,
I think that's the right way to go, is like stay very present in your work,
mm,
as you have been doing. So yeah.
mm. I agree.
And
I Yes.
no, I was going to say, you wanted to tell me, or I was going to ask you about your project with multi-choice.
Yes, 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 yes. So that's where I am saying that editorial makes more sense. So right now, while Rory Sang is still just purely our project that we build on as a studio, and we give our we develop the story and the characters and everything, and then our audience tells us what they like and they don't like. That's the dynamic that's happening with developing the story with Rory Sang. But in a situation where we worked with Multi Choice, we did a musical show for them for Channel O called Zen Zone. And again, I was at Fame Week and I went to the music side instead of the animation side because I just wanted to learn more about the music industry because of Rorisan and the Girls being a musical show, and they were talking about music law and whatever it is that they were talking about. I raised my hand, I asked a question, and I mentioned that I run an animation studio, and then they answered my question. Afterwards, a whole bunch of music record people came and said, "Oh, do you want to license music here, here, here?" And then somebody from Channel O said, "Oh, I'm a manager at Channel O. I've been looking for an animation studio. There's a TV show I want to create." So that's another
Wow.
reason why you must go to markets, because time and chance will happen to you sometimes.
Great, great example. Wow.
Mm-mm. So from there, we didn't come up with the concept and then pitch to multi-choice and then they bought the idea from us. We didn't. We developed an idea that they had into a concept for them. And there is where they will give us notes and say, no, the character should do this and that, or rather change the outfit, or hey, can you extend this moment or shrink that moment? That makes sense to me because it's their concept
Good
and their
idea.
investment, and the project is already tied to a broadcaster. So they know their audience and they know their audience's habits. So when they're giving you feedback, they know what they're talking about. Whereas now, where Rory Sang is not attached to any broadcaster, one minute somebody tells you it's age this to that age. Another minute somebody tells you, no, 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 we don't want serialized projects, we want episodic. No, 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 no kids programs, teenage programs. No, 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 adult animation. I'm gonna get confused. So that's why I say editorial is only useful when you are there with the broadcaster or the streamer or whoever it is, and they're telling you because they know their audience. But before that, you must just rely on your instinct and what you know and understand about good storytelling. And then if you've got a little bit of an audience, see what they respond to. And then you don't have to give them more of what they want, but you must understand the principle, of what they're responding to, and then apply that principle again in a different context in your story. For example, the first time we went viral with Rorisang and the Girls, I just made a stupid edit. It was really just a stupid video where I said Rorisang and the Girls being South African for 2 minutes or something like that. And all I did is I took moments from Rorisang that felt like distinct South African things and I chopped them into a silly edit that K-pop fans tend to do when they edit together their favorite celebrity and all the silly things that they do.
Mm.
I just followed the same format. And I said, oh, we have accents. And then I listed all these South African words that kind of showed up casually in the show. Like Rorisang says, Achshem. And Rorisang says, and then who are they supposed to be? And I realized, and then is a very South African way of saying, what is that all about? Or really?
Yeah.
And then also there's a moment where Rorisang doesn't speak Zulu that well, and one of the ladies serving lunch in the cafeteria says, "Oh, would you like some more?" But she says it in Zulu. That's the only line of dialogue Dr. T did the voice for because my Zulu is terrible. And Rorisang says, "Oh yes, please, but I don't really speak Zulu." She says it like that. And that moment has been resonating with people. And they were like, oh my
Amazing.
gosh, yeah, This is the struggle. My parents are from Congo, but I was born here, so my Zulu is terrible. People don't understand when you can't speak the language. So I said, "Oh, I don't have to always talk about language in Rorisang, but I have to talk about these distinct moments that you don't
Hmm.
always see in TV." And people will respond because it's their own personal experience they're relating to. So that's what I mean by audience feedback. Yeah.
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah, I came across a creator recently. I'm struggling to remember his name now, but he also just does this kind of slice of life stuff of like what it's like to be in South African schools or like what are
Mm,
the different, and it's all and 2D animated as well. And I think that's just everything he does is just on YouTube, but he's got a really big following and it's just from people being interested in this hyper specific stuff, like this hyper
mm,
local stuff.
mm.
So yeah, that's an awesome insight. And so is your show with Channel O going forward or in development?
Oh, it's already out. I don't know
Is
if
it
they
out? Oh, I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
come
yeah.
across
I don't know
that.
if it's repeating or I don't know the schedule, but was released last year in November-ish, and then I think that first sort of cycle of showing the show ended in April. Oh, I might be mixing up my years. But it was like November to April. I don't remember if it was April last year or April this year. But we took a year to do that TV show. And it was basically like the lo-fi beats girl on YouTube. So there's these videos where it's just a looping person studying. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to take that concept but make it South African, where every episode the music it's an hour long set that is curated by a South African DJ who's like up and coming or a music curator. So they don't have to actually have DJ or production skills. They just have to be very good at choosing music that works well, and then what we did is we turned each of those individual DJs into a cartoon character. And
Um,
then we made them all go to the University of Channel O. And every episode, we had these two mascot characters who would meet each DJ. And along the way, they were like planning a big showcase at the end of the series, and essentially it's like these repeating animations. So we were creating visuals to go with the playlist. So the one DJ might be gymming in the morning before she goes to play her set in the evening. Another one will be studying and it's raining, and then riding a taxi to get to class, and then sitting in class and listening to a lecture. Or another one would be performing a big concert on Nelson Mandela Bridge. So those were some of the things that we did to bring that idea to life. And
oh,
because
that's
there
so
were these
cool.
looping animations, we didn't have to do too much animation to fill an hour, but we did still need to have enough variety that it felt like they were watching some sort of a journey with each DJ every episode.
So cool. And so that's, is it like music to study to?
Yes, yes, yes. So some of them feel like you're gonna dance, you're gonna get distracted from studying. But yes, that was the idea. It was music to study to, but it had to
Music
have
to
a
do
South
your wall
African
Pilates
theme.
too.
Yes, 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 yeah. Some of it just really felt like you're not gonna study, you're gonna stand up.
Oh, that's so
But
cool.
yeah, that was fun. Uh, just bringing that idea to life.
Mm.
And that's where I'm okay when you've sold a show to a broadcaster when it was like something they really wanted, and it's basically their idea, and all I'm doing is bringing their idea to life. I'm really fine with that. Because then I don't have to be so emotionally attached to Rory Sang that when you say to me, no, why does she have a red braid? I have to defend. You can say to me, no, 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 change the top to this, and I can change it. I don't have issues,
Yeah, it's
because
good
it's
to
not
know
my
what's
fault.
your baby and what's somebody else's baby.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so then most recently did you for Rory Sung is the last thing you did was it the CTIF intro video.
Yes.
Also really cool. And I like that point from your Comic Con talk about do the most. Like if you get a chance to do something, then shoot the lights out with every opportunity. Um,
Yes. Do the most when you can, obviously within reason and all of that. Um, So Diane approached us to do the theme for CTIF for last year. but then CTIF couldn't happen the same way last year because of budgetary
Mm.
constraints, so it was moved to this year. And I was so excited because every time somebody gets chosen as a director for the festival, they get to like realize their unique vision for representing the festival that year. And then
That's awesome.
and I was kind of waiting until it was my turn. I was like, hopefully I can, you know.
Do you
Um,
have to apply for it, or do you just get kind of
I
picked
don't I don't know how
by
they
diet?
select. I think they just select. I have no idea how they choose. But Diane said, "Hey, why don't we say Rorisang takes over Seat Kataf?" That's how they say it. And I think for me, why that was such a privilege was I didn't have to create a whole new concept in order to participate in this project.
Mm.
Because we did the work of trying to establish our IP, even if she only had a few thousand followers and all of that, it was enough for them to see that there's something here and let's build with this character. So that was just a privilege to see that okay, we are doing something that's worth showcasing more. And then also it made me realize you can use your character for anything when you own it. If it makes sense, you can use your character for anything. And I always knew we were going to do more than what the project required, but it's because every time I have an opportunity to prove the concept of Rorisang, I want to. And so that's
Mm.
why the way the animation looks, it's much more than what it needed to be. But it's because for us as a studio, it's also an investment on our
Yeah,
side. And that's why we treated it like its own music video. And we had Rorisang and the girls get on a bus and fly in their flying bus to Cape Town. And also because Rorisang is South African, we wanted to show that she's South African for everyone, as much as possible. And it also gave us an opportunity to create some original music as well. And I'm thankful for that because I've been very, very shy to produce music for Rorisang because I'm not a musician like that. And so we made this music more than a year ago and tweaked it just for this trailer. And making the animation for Kataf, the music for Kataf, made me brave enough to make the music for the pilot episode of Rorisang. So I'm also
maybe.
grateful for that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got that string to your bow, it's awesome to like have an excuse to experiment with it.
Mm,
And I love the way that you're just like taking every opportunity to extrapolate the IP, like
mm.
even with your little GIFs that you can use on
Yes.
WhatsApp and so on. And I think you mentioned in your talk that those have been really shareable and really popular.
I'm still trying to understand because the analytics on Giphy are not as robust as other platforms. I'm trying to understand who is using these and why they have so many views. They have 1.7 million views,
Wow.
which
What?
I'm still trying to wrap my head. What does that mean? Um, what do you mean 1.7 million views? I've been struggling to get people to watch my pilot episode, but when I post GIFs, that's very popular. Wow. What? But it was just like what you said, every opportunity to treat Rory Sang as a brand. I've just started to behave like the brands that I see. So when we made the gifts in February, it was just to start to have Rory Sang's character on Instagram reply to people with the animated gifs just so that I
Mm.
could have a cute little thing that fans would use to
Mm.
engage with people, but also as a marketing opportunity that if somebody sees this silly GIF a few times, they might ask themselves, what is that? Or how do I find this GIF? And then I can tell them, oh, just search Rory Sang or Rory Sang and the Girls. And then that'll send them on their way into the rabbit hole. I didn't expect for them to be so many, which means as a character, she's very expressive and relatable. And it's the same way that somebody would find like a SpongeBob meme to represent something. It's the same thinking that I have about the Rory-san gifts. And I'm hoping maybe it will lead to some collaborations with telephone service provider people, telcos. I'm hoping it
Mm.
leads to something there with them or to some other opportunity that's related to gifts that I don't know yet now. Um,
Well, you
but
probably know,
also,
but MTN's doing a big push into content,
mm,
so those would be
so
people to talk
hopefully
to.
it's with them. We shall see. Mm.
Yeah, awesome. And so does the pilot live on YouTube currently, or where have you put it?
It Yeah, I'm distributing through social media. So the pilot lives on YouTube and on TikTok at the moment. On YouTube, I split the pilot into 5 episodes, and then I made one full video, and that was to get YouTube to believe me when I say I post consistently. That was actually
Important.
what that was for. But also I realized, I could just condense my story, um, and see which parts of the story the audience resonates with. And then I'm doing the same thing on TikTok, except I've made them even shorter on TikTok. So
And so was that
if
a good exercise in terms of learning what resonates, breaking it up like that?
Yes, because people comment on YouTube like they've been fans forever, and it'll be like the first video that they watch. Even if it's not many, many comments, maybe there'll be 5, 10 comments on the YouTube video, but they comment like they've been following Rorisang like the way they follow Winx Club or Sailor Moon. They comment like they're fans from the beginning. And
That's
on
interesting.
TikTok as well, especially South African users, I find I get the most engagement when I just show them footage from the show. And every time I post a clip out of context, that's when they say, "Where? How do I watch this thing? Where?" And when I tell them YouTube, I think I'm extending their journey to find Rorisang. So I decided, let's just split it, because anyway, micro shorts, everybody talks about micro shorts. Let's just split it into parts. If you go to the TikTok, you'll see there's a long column that just says part one, part two, part whatever. And then every other silly meme or something that we post with Rorisang. And that's because I realize people want the story. And when they see the story, that's when they give me feedback. Um, and the only way I'm gonna know what is actually resonating is if I just show it to people. It's scary because there's no one directly paying for this type of distribution
Mm,
yet. And I don't
mm.
have like monetization unlocked on these platforms. Um,
I think they've made it quite hard to make your money back on YouTube now.
Yeah, it's a long journey, but I think I'm at a place where it's more important to get an audience right now.
Hmm.
It's more important to have an audience than it is to directly monetize on the platform. And if my audience is currently on TikTok, that's where I need to be. If my audience is in the mall in Pretoria, I'll go there, you know. As long as I go where my people are, that's where I'm at with Rorisang. I must find my people and be where they are.
And then from there, you'll look for the right partners and you can say, here's the audience. What are you waiting for?
Yes, that streaming conversation, broadcaster conversation is open, but at the same time, because there's an audience, the licensing, merchandising, brand partner conversation is also open. Um,
Mm,
because I'd realized with an IP, it can exist in many forms.
yeah.
People don't have to meet your character just as a TV show. They can meet it in a form that makes the most sense for them. So
Yeah, you
that's
said the
why.
first thing you did was a coloring book, right?
Yes, well, actually, we made a webtoon and then we made a coloring
Coloring
book.
book, yeah. I mean, the first piece
Um,
of merch.
yes, the
Yeah,
coloring book. That was Dr. T, again, business development. That's Dr. T.
I love that.
So I don't mind if the first time you meet Rory-san is because she's on a bubble bath. That's fine. As long as you meet Rory-san and she
Oh,
adds whimsy
definitely.
to your life.
And you're
Yeah.
winning at life.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, best of luck for the next journey with Rory Sang.
Thank
And
you.
for 2026, is there anything else you want to share or point people towards?
We do have new webtoon episodes that are coming out for Rorisang and the Girls from next week, which is exciting. And we also have a music video that we're working on right now for Rorisang and the Girls. We got a little bit of funding to do a project on cyberbullying. So we said, why don't we make a music video where the girls actually learn this lesson in real time in the story? And so that, I can't tell you when that's coming out, but that's currently in production, which is very exciting.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah. Was that NFEF or
No, that
an
was,
interest group?
yes, that's a good way of putting it. It was a trust for women in business that wanted something impactful. And so we got a bit of grant funding for that.
That's cool. Those
Mm.
examples are great for, I think, South Africans or any indie economy is like there's these pockets of funding that maybe haven't even necessarily thought of animation yet. But
Yes.
if you're out there with your characters and like you did at Discop, you can join the dots for people. Where's the best place for them to encounter you? Never mind, Rory sang.
Sure. So my handle on social media is Cabblow, Cabblow, and I'm on Instagram and YouTube. We're Cabblow Studios. Rorisang is Rorisang with three A's because she loves to sing on TikTok and on Instagram, and we're just Rorisang and the Girls on YouTube.
Rorisang and the Girls have also released their first track on Spotify. It's called Rorisang's Groove. Go check it out. Thanks for listening. See you next time.